old-fashioned way around here.
Council meeting, May
Game on.
15th,
All right,
2018.
We're live.
We are live. I will open up this town council meeting for May 15th. Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All you, Twilight.
Roll call. Councilor Albert.
Here.
Councilor Colby. Here. Councilor Brunel.
Here.
Councilor La Rochelle.
Here.
Councilor Ward.
Here.
Councilor Lunt.
Here.
And Councilor Crawford.
Here.
Next.
Good news and recognition.
Anybody got anything for this week? Sure. Come right up, state your name for the camera, please.
Good evening. I'm Ross Cunningham with Positive Change Lisbon. I just wanted to share that we had a fantastic mother-son Mother's Day dance Saturday night. Had about 94 folks show up, and we had a little knighting ceremony for all the young men. And I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the DARE program for being one of our co-sponsors, along with Lisbon Family Dental Care. It was a great event, and we even had an officer stop by and get knighted that evening, so we've circulated that picture around to the entire department, I believe. So thank you very much for the support.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else got anything? Seeing none, moving on.
Is a public hearing, the amended Dingley TIF development program.
Tracy Stuber, Economic and Community Development Director. You have in front of you a packet of amending. This will be the fourth amendment to the Dingley TIF. Council back in March did extend the extension of the life of the TIF for 5 years, and with that we didn't make any changes to the development program. Since that time, on May 1st, legal counsel for Dingley came before council, and we held a workshop with Jim Safian, and he answered questions that council had in reference to where the funds can be spent. So basically, from that workshop, I'm here tonight to ask approval to amend the TIF, Fourth Amendment of the Dingley TIF, with the changes that you have in your packet, and mostly dealing with the development program and how the TIF funds can be spent.
Perfect. Anybody wishing to speak on behalf of this item that's on the agenda? Seeing no movement, I'll close the public hearing. Next item.
Is a public hearing for the vitreous license for Fernanda Stelzor doing business as Domino's Pizza.
Anybody wishing to speak on behalf of that item on this agenda? I'll close that public hearing as well. Next.
Is a public hearing for Phil Butterfield doing business as Smokin' Phil's Belly Bustin' Barbecue.
Same. Anybody wishing to speak on behalf of this item? None. Closing the public hearing.
Next is the special entertainment permit public hearing for Moxie Inc. doing business as Frank's.
Don't let me down, Tracy. Come on up, please. Give me something. You guys are on the agenda.
Well, I'm on the agenda, but no one else had to speak. Special entertainment, looking to do in correlation with some live music here coming up this summer. We had one last year. We didn't use it, but figured we'd have it last year, and just getting due to the business, getting our feet under us, we didn't take advantage of it, but looking to renew it so that we are able to.
Perfect.
Yes. I would like to have 2018-112 IT services removed.
Which one?
2018-112 order IT services. Move it to a different agenda.
On the regular agenda.
Oh.
Did I jump the gun?
Yeah, and so did I. So can we just go back for one more item then?
For audience participation?
Yes, audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody wishing to speak?
Good evening, Ross Cunningham with Positive Change Lisbon and Lisbon's Concerts in the Park. I just wanted to take an opportunity to address 2018-111, the Cook's Lobster House off-premise catering for the beer garden at the MTM concert, which we host every year. Pretty much wanted to just give you an opportunity to ask any questions of me. I'm certainly available during that discussion with Cook's Lobster and Ale House, is their correct name. We've been trying, or interested in trying to do this at the Moxie Festival for several years. We believe it's an economic growth to the festival. It adds an aspect to the festival, that to the concert specifically, that we think will invite people from other towns. And we think that's sort of the goal of the concert and the goal of the festival, is to encourage folks to come to Lisbon and learn about Lisbon and see Lisbon. We want to emphasize that we want to do this in a very controlled manner, in a very professional manner. Cook's Lobster and Ale House, I had the opportunity to work with them a month ago on an event, and they are top-notch. They run a great operation. We certainly are also interested in hiring police department to be there for the event. I've already spoken to the chief about having an extra person. I know he's got staffing issues that day, but I've asked him that during that window, if this gets approved, that we have at least one police officer at the beer garden for that. So I just wanted to step up and let you ask any questions if you had them of me. If not now, that's fine. I'm happy to get back up again later when you have this issue.
Perfect. Where it's an actual discussion item, Twyla, in preparation for that, if council's receptive, she's given us a shopping list of considerations that we need to iron out. So when we get to that item, we'll go through the script.
Beautiful.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Tracy Austin, Lisbon, Webster Road. I just feel compelled to stand up. You may or may not know of Cook's Lobster and Ale House out in the Harpswell area, but actually Nick Charbonneau, and I know from college, and I know that him and Jen have run very successful businesses in restaurant businesses in Vermont, as well as purchasing this venue. So I want to just feel compelled to say that they are good people, they are good business owners, and whatever decision you make, just know that they are doing the right things.
Anybody else? Any other agenda items? Seeing none. Now the next item, Twyla.
Okay. And I think, Councilor Albert, your motion to move the agenda around would come after this. It's under 2018112, correct?
Yep.
All right, so first we'll do the consent agenda then.
Perfect.
So any counselor wishing to have any item moved from the consent agenda may do so now. Seeing none? Order 2018-106 to approve the municipal accounts payable and payroll warrants, number 121 for $24,336.76. Number 122 for $171,570.98. Number 123 for $16,785.09. Number 124 for $1,744.52. Number 125 for $15,069.56. Number 126 for $332,336.08. And number 127 for $79,000. School accounts payable and payroll warrants, number 30 for $21.94. Number 1059 for $12,409.91. Number 1060 for $562.80. Number 1061 for $331,092.42. Number 1821 for $15,999, and 1822 for $51,924.89. The minutes of May 1, the victual is licensed for Domino's Pizza and Smoking Phil's Belly Bustin' Barbecue, the special entertainment permit and liquor license for Moxie Inc., doing business as Frank's. The remainder of the Renewal victual is licenses: Aroma Joe's, Chris's House, Frank's Left Hand Club, Lisbon Gulf Railroad Restaurant and Pub, Riverside Dairy Bar. Approve the mobile home park licenses for Avery Street Park, Bowden Mobile Home Park, Brookwood Court, Colonial Gardens, Davis Street Park, Gendrons, Grimmel's, Ridge, Savatas Creek, St. Anne's, Town and Country, Whispering Pines, Warumbo Estates, and Park. And set a public hearing for June 5 for the victualers and itinerant vendor permit for Pinky D's and the Coastal Humane Society's annual contract.
What she said, I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, Twyla.
The next item, did you want to take up the moving?
I did. I want to remove that from the this agenda, if you would. Push it to the June 5.
Okay.
In light of
Is
some,
there any objections to removing 2018?
Based on what I know of this discussion, I would advocate that as well.
and some recent developments that
Through,
require some
through
attention.
the entire process, we're been leveraging Councilor Albert on the topic, and if he says the June 5th, we're going the June 5th.
Okay, to June 5. All right. So now we move on to council orders, resolutions, and ordinances. Order 2018-107 to adopt the school budget. Do you want to begin with the articles as they read?
Is this the one we go one item at a time?
Yeah.
Why don't you begin the roll unless there's anything new that we need to hear from the school department?
Is this roll call or is this actual?
That's nothing new? So, no, it's
an ordinance.
It's an ordinance. She has to go one article at a time, if I remember correctly. Right.
Okay. Article 1, to see what sum the council will authorize the Lisbon School Department to appropriate for the cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. Recommended $13,148,750, and to see what sum the council will raise and raise as the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 28, Section 15688.
I don't know that anybody has. That have
I
it.
think it's in front of us.
Did you make copies for council?
Oh, I thought they were bringing copies. No. Should we do that then?
I'll make copies.
I have my budget book, but
Let's give a chance to regroup. Let's
Came
move
prepared.
on to number 108 and revisit that last in the order.
you're not
That
gonna
way we
find
have
it.
the concept.
She didn't do it. She
Yeah.
thought we had it.
I know what we heard last
But you
week. I
gotta
know
find it.
the answers to that, but it'd be best to at least have it all in front of us. So let's move to number 108.
All right, so 2017-108, the amended Dingley Development Program.
I think we've heard quite a bit.
Is there anything new on this? It's
No, basically you have everything that,
And this is a straight vote, not a roll call, correct?
Correct. These are all orders.
Yep.
I'll make a motion.
Need a second
Second.
Sorry.
Hold on.
discussion?
Did we have, we mentioned last week about,
Yeah, no, you're talking about being able to
Thank
use
you.
funding in for the officers. Actually, I think Council Ward or Lara Shell can speak to that.
It wouldn't affect the way that the ordinance, it's written, but the police department capital is not included, and that was.
That is
it's
correct.
actually listed as part of the TIF, so the answer was no for the police cars.
no, that wasn't
Yeah,
the,
okay, that wasn't your question?
no,
Okay, okay.
no,
I
no.
misunderstood. What
When we had talked about,
Because I was pretty sure that's what we were talking. You had talked to me about. Can we use TIF monies to support that the officers directly? And it was
no, it
in
wasn't the officers.
The planning, the
well,
planner?
the
The
additional.
planner, yes.
Planner, there
Oh,
you go.
Thank you.
That,
Sorry,
that
I was thinking
actually,
police. I was thinking
I'll
police.
let Tracy,
I was,
sorry,
Thank
I'll
you.
let Tracy speak to that, because I think she has the information.
how it works as far as the planner, the Dingley one wouldn't qualify for that, is because a planner, in order to offset any types of costs, they would have to be directly within the district of a project going on. However, with that being said, we do have the downtown TIF. So with the projects going on within the two downtowns, that would qualify to be able to use the planner for working with me on those projects. But it would have to come out of the downtown TIF, not the Dingley. Does that answer your
And
question?
we couldn't amend that later on to include a project that the town planner was working on?
Is only within the district as far as, I mean, it has to be directly related to it. So the idea of it is, I mean, when we look at the Dingley one and we're looking at roads and we're making that coalition as directly to that, we would have to look at how the state views it, and there is a possibility of going back to the state and saying, okay, you've approved this. Now we've got some work that's going to correlate with that you've approved. So with that, could we use those types of fundings? But definitely right off, the downtown would cover that. And in fact, in the downtown TIF, I included planning services within that TIF. So that was already approved.
Thank you.
So at least
Prorated or full?
Sorry?
prorated or for?
It would have to be prorated. It would have to be basically whatever the project was. So again, if the planner was working with me on, for instance, we get the $300,000 grant for the downtown and doing the sidewalks, and I need to bring the planner on and work with me on putting all of that together, I could take the downtown TIF funds and utilize that to help offset some of those costs for that particular project because it's within that district.
So if I'm understanding Councilor Colby's question, we can't just slide the 21,250 to that TIF. We have to have a specific project and charge it after the fact.
That is correct.
That's a key difference.
With the state's approval, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And right now, like I had stated, the downtown TIF has that included. I included that as well as engineer costs, as well as legal costs. That's all part of the downtown, which makes more sense. Is because your downtown TIFs, you usually bring in your planner because you're working on your downtown plan, your master plans within those areas.
Okay, so then it lives as a 21,250 as we discussed last week.
Mhm.
But if there is something that we can tap in the coming year, draw from that, so it doesn't actually expend the 21,250 off the general fund, but you don't get that back until a year later when you don't expend it like everything else.
So, layman's terms, we foot the bill now with the understanding that we can possibly make an amendment, and the state may sign up and say, yeah, this is related to that.
Right.
Let's correlate, bada bing, here's your
That's exactly.
21,250 to
You
cover
got it.
So we have to be okay with footing the bill up front with the understanding that we're going to make a go of this through the TIF one way or another at a later date.
But they wouldn't cover the 21.
No.
Not the full amount. It'd
Yeah,
be a
prorated amount, you're right.
Exactly.
It would have to be based upon the services. So, I mean, when you're looking at it, you'd have to decide. You can't count on that. You've
Any, off the top of your head, and I know this might be a tough question, what's the cap? What's the max on the prorating? How does that get determined?
It's not really a set formula. So it's one of those. So when you look at the prorated, and from my conversations with legal on that, is that there's no set formula from the state saying it's this type of percentage. You have to calculate that out. And mind you, anything that you do within that is that you basically have to be able to stand up and say, yes, this is the amount of time, this is what was used. And
If you want to reallocate the planning position to economic development next year, you just have to come up with 21,250 to justify why you charged it against that funds versus general fund.
Okay.
and it's not approved as far, like I said, as far as within that, you have to look at what's approved for that. So you couldn't bring a full-time planner on and have them under my department, and then expect with a TIF coming in there and to pay for it if they're going to be coming to planning board meetings and that. It wouldn't jive.
No, I understand. Thank you.
So we're at least good with the discussion. Thank you for reminding me of that.
You're welcome.
I just thought there's
We had a first, we had a second, we had the discussion. Any other discussion?
That's pretty straightforward.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you.
You want to resume?
You want to go back to school? So we.
Right.
Right. Let's go back to 107 then.
So you're on Article 1. Would you like me to read the explanation? Town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten.
Please, to be fair, associated with that, everybody was looking for handouts that we didn't have, so I'm sure very few of us were listening to much.
All right, so let's start back at Article 1. That would be on your second page in. Article 1, to see what sum the council will authorize the Lisbon School Department to appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. They recommend $13,148,750, and to see what sum the council will raise as the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20, yes, A, Section 15688. The school committee recommends $4,533,277. The explanation reads, the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act is the amount of money determined by state law to be the minimum amount that a municipality must raise in order to receive the full amount of state dollars.
You're looking for a motion to make recommendations of council of the $4,533,277.
Correct.
I'll make that motion.
I need a second to that motion.
I'll I'll second that.
All in favor?
We have to do this by roll call, or do you just want to do it?
Do we have to do it by roll call?
I don't know. I was prepared to do it by roll call, but it doesn't.
I'll follow your lead.
You have it as an order. You have it as an order here, though.
It's an order, not an ordinance.
Correct.
So, yeah. All right, so just do it by regular vote. 7-0?
You're right. I thought that's what we did last year.
Okay.
That's what I remember too, but.
Go on to Article 2 then. That passed 7-0, right?
Yes. Okay, so Article 2, to see what sum the council will authorize the Lisbon School Department to raise and appropriate for the annual payments on debt service previously approved by the legislative body for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects, in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12. The amount recommended by the school is $467,075.
I need a motion
I'll make the motion.
for
Second.
467,075, right?
Did you want to read the explanation, or you just want to?
Oh, keep going with the explanation, Swyla.
It's on the next page.
Correct.
Thank you, Council.
Oh, I see it. The explanation is the non-state funded debt service is the amount of money needed for the annual payments on the municipality's district long-term debt for major capital school construction projects and minor capital renovation projects that is not approved for state subsidy. The bonding of this long-term debt was previously approved by the voters or other legislative body.
I did have a first from Councilor Colby and a second by Councilor Crawford for the 467,075. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Article 3.
Shall the town of Lisbon raise and appropriate $2,009,155 in additional local funds, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by an additional $632,143 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school committee? The school committee recommends $2,009,155 for additional local funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model by an additional $632,143. The explanations are for co-curricular and extracurricular activities. The state only supports 20% of Lisbon's total expenditures. The teacher retirement portion that was previously paid by the state. Substitute pay, the state allocates half a day per student. This does not cover long-term absences where substitutes are paid at a higher rate. Special education, this additional amount is partly due to year-old student information, summer school scheduling, and reduced financial support at the federal and state levels. The nutrition or lunch program, the state does not provide any subsidy to cover the expenses in the general budget. The school committee recommends $2,009,155. The explanation reads as follows. The additional local funds are those locally raised over and above the school administrative unit's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and local amounts raised for the annual payments on non-state funded debt service that will help achieve the Lisbon School Department's budget for educational programs.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that the council, we're going for the $2 million figure, right? For the $2,009,155.
Yes. Need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0. Article 4, to see what sum the council will authorize the Lisbon School Committee to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2018 and end in June 30th, 2019, from the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Program and Services Funding Act, non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes Title 20-A, Section 15690, expected balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. The school committee recommends $16,379,271.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that the council recommends a $16,379,271.
I need a second to that.
Second. Chris beat me to it.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0. Article 5, to see if the council will authorize the Lisbon School Department to appropriate $32,776 for adult education and raise $14,276 as the local share, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the adult education program. School committee recommends yes.
I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I need a second.
Second.
There you go. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
And the recommendation was yes, right?
Right.
Yes,
Okay,
it
just
was.
making sure.
I appreciate that. Article 6.
To see what sum the council will authorize the Lisbon School Department to expend for adult education. The school committee recommends $32,776.
I need a motion.
Make a motion.
32,776.
32,776.
I need a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
7.
Article 7, in addition to amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the council authorize the school committee to expend sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. School committee recommends yes.
I make a motion that the council recommends yes.
I need a second. I get the second. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
That completes that item. The next piece is...
Painless.
What's that?
Painless.
Paidless. June 12th is the vote. So now begins the education part to be able to make sure that people properly show up. Statistic that I read in Sun Journal, Lewiston voted on theirs, and it was 4-point-something%. I'm hopeful that we have a better local showing for something of this importance. But we need to begin the education part to be able to make that happen. Absolutely. Thank you. Next item, Twyla.
Order 2018-109. The road name request, Running Brook Road.
E911, was it agreeable?
Yes.
Anybody have
This is the 54 Upland one.
a conflict with the name? I need a motion.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item.
2018-110, nominations for MMA's Legislative Policy Committee.
Let's do something daring. Let's nominate Mark.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you, Mark.
Hey,
Good job, Mark. Keep it up.
You've been voluntold.
I
Welcome to
didn't
the
hear
club,
anything
buddy.
about discussion either, so you're absolutely right.
Get in before he wants to talk.
That was a legitimate nomination, by the way. I would do so.
I did record it. Do you want to vote?
No, and we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Right on.
Good job, Mark.
Thank you for Mark for serving.
There you go.
Next item.
That was shock and awe.
He may keep my car when he leaves, but
Hey, he's been doing good. He's been covering when I can't go.
right. That's awesome. Next item.
Order 2018-111 for Cook's Lobster House off-premise catering permit for beer garden at MTM Concerts.
Come on down.
I think I got your name wrong, right? Liz?
Ross, why don't you join him too?
Cook's
Can you introduce
Lobster
yourself?
and Ale House.
Yes.
I'm Nick.
Hi, I'm Jen Charbonneau. First, would like to say thank you to Tracy for your kind words and for Russ for selecting us as a possible vendor for the beer garden at the Moxie Fest and for the invitation to the town for being here. Thank you very much. Nick and I took ownership of Cook's Lobster House in 2015, July 1st of 2015. Changed the name to Cook's Lobster and Ale House, in part because of the negative image Cook's Lobster House had taken on due to previous ownership. I've never done this before for a liquor permit, so I'm not really sure what to say other than, we've been very involved in our community. We met Ross initially at the Southern Maine Mid-Coast Chamber Awards dinner where we won Small Business of the Year. And a big part of that, I believe, is our involvement in the community and being a family-owned business. And we take the responsibility of, if we're lucky enough to get the bid for the beer garden, we take that responsibility very seriously. We are a family. We regard this event as a family event and would take every precaution necessary to make sure that our service was exemplary and that no one is overserved. We have staff coming to card people as they walk in. Trained, all of our staff is trained, or the people that would be present. The bartenders are trained in proper serving techniques, all of those kinds of things. Just in terms of background and history, we were selected as really the only restaurant in Maine to host a group from the National Defense Intelligence Agency at the Pentagon last November of 75 international military attachés. We had to close the restaurant down. It was kind of a top secret event. So I'm sure any background checks, obviously they came back fine if we were hosting kind of such a prestigious, and it was a really amazing honor to be chosen for that. As far as licensing, our license is current. We are up for renewal on July 1st, but that has already been passed into our town office, which they have a meeting this Thursday, which will be signed off on and then will be sent to the state for renewal. So as far as the date of the concert, we will be recertified, or our license will be renewed. We're in good standing. We've never had any issues as far as any calls to the restaurant, violations of any kind. And we've done the off-site catering on several of occasions, and I feel we've always been very successful. We did win with Ross just a few weeks ago, and it was great. So yeah, I guess that's all I have.
Anything you would add, Ross? From
No, other than it's been a pleasure getting to know these folks, and their level of professionalism is top notch. And as I said before, we are extremely interested in making sure this runs smoothly from both the PTO perspective and from Cook's Lobster Ale House. I think this is going to be a good effort, and I think it'll work out well.
You had a question.
I was just going to ask and she mentioned the idea about the idea that you're going back in for reapproval for your lunch.
Yep, it's an annual thing.
That shouldn't be really a question. I guess Ross had spoken to me earlier at one point in time, and there were some questions earlier about the idea of the provision that the council would actually approve, the idea of actually having this type of event on town property in a sense. And we had actually it was done before I got on council, with the idea to approve to actually change the ordinance so this could happen. It did need a special permission from the council to actually be able to do that, and I think that's one of the things that Ross was really looking for, is to make sure that this was supported by the council. And then secondly, to bring the people out front to actually show what would be happening and that they're capable of doing it and doing it in a safe manner. There are some concerns that Twyla had about some things that need to be taken care of prior, but a couple of them you've already mentioned tonight. And I guess, to me, it would be really for the council to discuss if this is something they want to happen, and if that's the case, get the blessing that way, then just make sure that these other items could be taken care of. That'd be my concern.
Right.
So I just question about the tent layout. Where it's in the back in MTM. Where do you envision that?
We had two options, and I sent a letter to the town manager. And option number one, which I think we prefer, is actually to put it up in Campus Ave, on the street.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us sort of a natural barrier, and that way you can keep folks up on the street, in the garden. They're not down in the park, so they're not mixing with families. We're not down in the park. All of it stays up in the street. The way I've got it laid out, the road closures will have to be applied for and approved, but they do not block either driveway to the housing facility or to the property that's down on the corner. So it would be an independent little section where we put the tent up there. The entire garden would be fenced off up there, and it wouldn't interfere with the park at all.
Okay.
It would obviously affect some parking, but I think maybe 5 to 10 cars, and I think there's plenty of alternatives.
Perfect.
And if we set it up beforehand, it could be used during the day for the Moxie Festival if they want to use it until 3 p.m. I would assume we'll have to talk to our tent person.
My understanding as well is that you folks have concerts at the end of your point there, so this is not, you're not unfamiliar with this. And the only reason I point that out is so that our listening public and counselors who may not have had the good fortune to go to your fine restaurant and have something to eat.
Thank you.
Understand that.
Yeah.
I will speak from a personal level. I've gone out many times to when it was under the previous ownership and under your ownership, and I can say nothing but great things about your staff, professional quality. If you're gonna, I don't know if you're gonna leave Mary at the shop or if you're gonna bring her here, but either way, we're in good shape.
It goes wherever we
Yeah, my only ask is that you would not have Pauline come because she's my mom and then I can't drink.
Oh, Albert, no way.
Did you see what she stopped by?
Yeah.
She stopped by today.
Funny.
So, you know, all kidding aside, fantastic folks. I can't think of better folks to come and kick off this inaugural event for us because I know the quality of the folks that they bring. Lisbon's protected, well protected. And
Thank you very much.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so the question's been asked. You have a application in front of you for consideration. What's the poll of council for support of the idea?
I'm in favor.
What time would it be from?
The concert runs from 6 to 8. We'd probably set up around 4:30-ish, 4:30 for them. We wouldn't serve until either just before 6 or at 6 and stop at 7:30 or 8, depending on
It's about a 2-hour time frame. Is that what you're thinking?
Yep.
Yeah.
in the evening.
Receptive? And I'm gonna bounce because then we're gonna get into locations and logistics and that kind of stuff, and then come back and actually have a formal decision associated with that. So if I hear that we're not receptive to the idea, there's no sense getting into the logistics associated with that. So I hear one yes.
Well, contingent upon all the stipulations that Twyla had pointed out that need to be met, sounds like they are being addressed at this point. Once all of those pieces, I certainly am in favor of.
Cassie, when we're down the line.
My only concern was at what time that they would be setting up, just because we already have events going on at MTM during
Which
that
is
day.
why I want to get into
And I
some of the
know
logistics
it's
too. Right.
Having been up that end of town during the Moxie Festival, it can get pretty chaotic, even though it seems to die down. The kids are kind of rambunctious still and running around, and I just wanted to make sure that all safety.
So logistics associated with time. Can you
Yeah.
add time on that?
Yeah, and the idea of where the placement of it, because if it's up on a road, that would take it out of the area where things typically happen. Yeah.
Right, because one of the locations, it looks like down by the
Tennis court.
tennis court. In the past, that's where we've usually had the petting zoo.
We're open to suggestions. Our first priority, our first preference is up on campus.
Tennis court? We put a tennis court in when we put a tennis
Yeah,
court in.
and I think it would be better for stability foot-wise.
That was the preferable location from public safety as well, for the reasons that you stated at the beginning.
Just makes the most sense. I know you had two options, but I just was,
Councilor
Put it in
Bernal.
my house, too,
Councilor
if you
Bernal.
want.
Receptive or no?
No time
yes.
constraints, right?
Councilor
I'm
Shaw.
good.
I'm okay.
I'm good with it.
You got 6, 7. Yes, we're receptive to the idea. So now let's get into some of the logistics.
Some of the things you want to go through Twyla's list. Can we do that?
Please.
Twyla, go through your list. Is that acceptable? The idea of
I think Council Ward has my list.
No, Councilor Sheldon.
Oh, you do?
It's actually,
It's
He's
been
reading off
a
it.
group thing to get to here, so we're good.
the approved placement of the tent location for Site A. It was on Campus Avenue. That would need a street closure. It sounds like that is the recommended location, and it would be out of the way. I don't think that's really as long as it's actually a.
That recommendation comes from staff.
It came from the police department and the
So no, the
fire
road
department.
closure
They're
itself.
both-
That recommendation has to come from staff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's the procedure for that? Is that just one council meeting coming forward for, who would bring that forward? Would that be the police chief to bring forward the closure, or is that just?
I think you just put that in your motion to
Put it
close the
in
street.
motion. So that's something pretty
Came from
easily
us
done.
today.
So that's fairly easily attainable.
Just
Yes.
to clarify, it's probably preferable for the tent company to set it up on Friday,
Yeah.
which does allow for the Moxie Festival to use it Saturday during the day, so the road closure would have to start Friday afternoon, whatever time they come put the tent up.
Okay.
And then the approval of the off-premise catering permit for Cook's Lobster House and Ale House, pending renewal of their current license, which it sounds like that's not going to be an issue. And that's something that basically you would just forward to Twyla.
Yeah,
that
we'd like
once-
a copy of your
Once that was
renewal.
renewed. They require clerks to place a copy of the approved liquor license on file at the town's clerk's office prior to the event, which that would be once you got that would actually just be forwarded to Twyla. And if required, to set a public hearing for the special entertainment permit for June 19th, which that was still in question whether we needed to actually happen. I guess the worst case there, if we actually had to do a special entertainment permit, it would actually be would have to do another meeting after that for the public hearing.
You have plenty of time to do that. You could set the public hearing tonight for the 19th, or you could set the public hearing on June 5th for the 19th.
The biggest thing on that is there would be a $100 cost, right, for the special entertainment permit. So, I mean, I'm not sure if that weighs and if that needs to be done or not. We're waiting now, I believe, to hear from.
We'll know by the 5th.
I mean, and if
it is where you sell alcohol. The question is, if you're selling alcohol and you are providing live entertainment in the town of Lisbon, we have an ordinance, a special entertainment ordinance that requires a special entertainment if you're doing those two things together. The question is complicated by two pieces, you know, and two different. One provides music, one provides alcohol. Is it still required or not? So we need to get that answered.
Okay.
And by the town, I would assume that we'd only do it if it was actually required of the town.
Right.
But
Okay.
And there is no latitude in that currently for waiving from council's perspective.
Right.
Okay, so
By ordinance.
fixing the one thing, we may want to look at the other based on whatever comes out of the legal discussion for future discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and I think that was part of your concerns, right? Those are the biggest ones that you had listed here. So
I think we have plenty of time. You'll have time to get your catering permit to their office in Augusta, you know, prior to the 72 hours when it's needed. We still have time to do a public hearing and do the special entertainment permit if it's required, all prior to the event. Okay.
Does the permitting process also ask for proof of insurance, since it is a sensitive event? The insurance liability
Asked
piece.
about that, and the state doesn't require that. It falls, there's off-premise catering permit falls under their liquor license, which does require, I'm
And we
sure.
do have, we've already taken out
Sure.
on the day.
They wouldn't give you the license if you
Yeah,
didn't.
exactly,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Exactly. Just I wanted that out in the open so that everybody understands, for the viewing public at home. That's the question we asked, and we vetted that well in advance.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, then the question that was left last would be time. Let's have the Moxie folks from the committee come on up at the same
Thank you.
time.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Celia. I am Lisbon resident and Moxie Festival vendor chair. I want to say that I think it's a great thing for them to be coming. I don't see it being any kind of hindrance to what we're going to be doing down at the MTM. Preferably option A, to have it up on Campus Street, is the best option, as we still have vendors coming in. And our space is now limited due to some of the good structures that have come up over there at the MTM. The question is time.
Time frame.
if they, I guess the idea if they were able to, I guess, set up the tent earlier, is there any, I guess, from 5 to 8, is that what you're thinking of a time frame that you'd be operating a tent? I mean,
They'd have to start, looks like you'd have to start setting up around 4.
We wouldn't need much time. I mean, we can push it back. We can get it done as quickly as we need to if you need more time.
and being up in that area, would that actually do any hindrance as far as for your events if it was up on Campus Avenue and they were setting up at this time?
Setting up on Friday or setting up on Saturday?
That would be Saturday. It would be.
They'll be doing 2
Tent will
days.
be- Right, the tent will be already set up Friday.
Right, but then doing the barricades and everything. I think with the road closure there, I think it's just will be a little bit
It's
crazy
going to be cramped.
with traffic and everybody's looking for a spot. The committee hasn't come before council on our road closure, which, we'll be working on because I have a logistics meeting Thursday with police and fire and public works, and we'll be going over that. The other thing is the Western Main Transportation provides shuttle service. We're designating the Lisbon Falls Baptist Church as our handicap parking because we have a lot of people that come and that have no place to park. So we're going to have everyone that is handicapped utilize that area and shuttle them down. And the drop-off point is at MTM, and they usually go around Berry Ave and come Campus Commons and come around. But in working with police, I'm sure we can come up with an alternative as far as route, because I think all of those routes kind of.
Given that day, I don't know if I would
All
actually
you have to
go
go
that
down
route.
is one more block.
Yes,
Right.
Okay.
exactly.
Street and come back down.
That was my thought.
Yeah,
Given
and
that day, I don't know if I would go
that will
around
be a
that
fine, and that's fine to work with them on that. I don't foresee that as a
Doable,
problem.
then.
But I agree with Celia. We do have the train coming back this year, and they're located on the basketball court. The petting zoo is in the location of option B. They need that shade. Utilizing, the tent and everything, I can't see as far as with the tent with animals under it, and then you're going to put people under it afterwards. So
option A is.
I think
Like the best choice.
option A would work best. They could get in there, and shouldn't be any interference as far as what's going on the grounds of MTM. I don't foresee that as a problem, other than just vehicles getting on, and the vehicles that come on are closer to at the MTM, the building side, than what they would be doing going up over the hill and going that way, except for the petting zoo, and we would just veer them off to the left instead of to the right. So I think it will work.
Any other logistics that we didn't cover already, guys?
Can you think of any?
I cannot think of any.
No, I think that I think it will be good, and I think within that location, Ross had come in and met with me in regards to that, and we did talk about the locations, and he and I both thought that Campus Commons or the Campus Ave there would definitely be a little good area. Again, it's just working with the emergency personnel and having them feel that yes, that's okay. And if you've got an area where you're not blocking anyone's driveway, so they still have access in and out,
Right.
that will be doable.
There's only so much of it we can own. We're not causing. We've thought some of these things out. That area is congested as it is that day.
Yes, it is.
What it is my famous expression.
Weekend.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's fair for a lot of pockets at that point in time. Absolutely.
Crazy.
Is there anything else that's going to have to come back for us unless the special permit that we need? That'll be the only other thing, correct?
The special entertainment permit.
So
You could schedule a public
proactively
hearing.
for placeholders, can we put that on the June 5th and the June 19th for the hearing?
Or we can just schedule the public hearing for the 5th and do your off-premise catering permit on the 5th. If we need a special entertainment,
Do it.
we'll put it right in there.
Let's do it.
And just do
And
it
if we
one
don't have
on-
it, we pull the item before the agenda goes out and we're done. But at least we've actually said it here tonight.
We'll just attempt to do the public hearing for the 5th if we're going to have one.
Now, I know I was just kind of presupposing. We have to go through the official vote first. I just want to know if there was anything else for that. I need a motion,
I make that motion.
A second.
which is your motion.
I'm making the motion to accept the Cook's Lobster and Ale House as a vendor for the serve alcohol at the Moxie Festival this 2018.
And I had the second. All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time tonight. Next item, Twyla? Do we need this list anymore?
So we're going to skip the IT
She's good, right?
services. We go to other business. Council communications.
Anybody got anything that they need to share?
Same old, business as usual.
Hearing none, moving right along.
And council committee reports.
Same old.
School, he knew he was up first. Planning. Oh, my.
That's you.
I know, I drew a complete blank. I was at the meeting, too. Oh, I presented the CIP. That was the lion's share of it, but they also had Black Bear Ladder actually was there for conditional use for their application, as well as Celine Goddard for expansion of the daycare facility at her location on Route 9. And Austin Estates subdivision on Ferry Road. So those three items went. Water.
I didn't have anything to report because their meeting was just before our workshop.
Okay.
I couldn't be at two places at once, but
Okay.
our business manager said that it was just some cleanup of some old business. I'm going to assume that the next meeting is June 12th, but don't quote me, and I'll have more information next
Perfect.
meeting.
Thank you, sir. LDC.
No meeting as of yet, but the next meeting is May 24th here at the town office.
Conservation was rescheduled from tonight too, so there'll be more in the future. Rec?
So they installed some security spotlights behind MTM. Talked about some landscaping and fencing. They want to take down the old chain link fence over at MTM and get a little bit prettier, but to allow keep the kids still in
Okay.
and contained.
Contained.
Just talked about some staffing for parks and camp programs. They've put out the brochures. They should be coming out this month for
Summer programs.
yeah. That's about it.
Okay. County, we're set till September. Library.
The library's raised over $750 from local businesses to help pay for the summer reading program. That covers the $600 they have to bring in a magician to entertain the kids.
Yes,
So it should
that
be a
was
great
something
program.
that we had talked about as well. Yeah.
Yes, yep. And it should be a great program. If you've got kids, sign them up and get them in the summer reading program. I think they'll enjoy it a lot.
Thank you, sir. Town manager.
All right, I'll just touch on what I've done with the budget since the last meeting. We talked about an additional full-time police officer in the budget, so we worked those figures up at the 4-year slot. That totals to about $81,000. So I've got that plugged into the budget right now. And I made some changes to the technology based on some information that Lydia got on one of our modules that we didn't have included. So right now, the total budget is up $887,907, and that doesn't include taking out the debt service if you want to pay off next year's debt through unassigned fund balance. So at
Is that the only one officer position?
That's
or two.
That's with 2 in the budget. Yes.
So the 887 does include that.
That does
second.
include that second one. Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
That was easy.
That said, we had some preliminary discussion before the meeting began while we were running out that we're coming down to the wire. She's just given you the figure for where we're at on expenses right now, knowing that we have to adopt this June 19th. I've asked Diane to put it on the June 5th agenda as an item to cover revenues, the fund balance discussion, because we haven't specifically earmarked anything. She's made recommendations. We have not approved that based on her recommendations to take it off out of this 887 amount for consideration, and that will include the IT position that Councilor Albert was actually just asking. So it'll be part of that discussion as well. Yep. That said, I know during the police department's budget discussion, we seem to be a group divided that at least wanted more information on cost before the specifics of a second officer. So I would ask the question now in a formalized vote. I will take a motion for adding the second police officer to the police budget.
I'll make that motion.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Discussion. I know I heard the reservation, so are we still hearing any?
What do we get for additional information?
The $81,000 figure is what we're looking for. So that would be
insurance, everything.
Benefits, right. And it actually also includes the mandatory overtime provisions that you talked about as well too, right? But that's the short list of questions. So if you have others, ask them now.
What would it be for one officer?
For one officer?
One additional officer.
81 too?
So you would take...
I think the first one we put in was at the 8-year slot was 83.
Okay. So they're roughly $81,000 to $83,000 a piece.
Oh no, actually no. No. It actually we reduced the budget because. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of we just hired somebody new. There was just too many positions. No, I think, I'll have to go back. It was either 81 or 83.
Okay.
There's only $2,000 difference between the year 4 and year 8 slot. We could get lucky and get somebody at the entry level, which is 69,000, but we won't know till we go through the hiring process.
Right. You've given us conservative figures.
Right.
So we're
Correct.
talking at 81 to 83 per officer.
Yeah.
Correct. What other questions? I want to make sure that it meets the issues
And that's
that
the
you guys
worst
are
case scenario. You get
looking
somebody
for.
that comes in and that's a single and is not married, then that's
And
gonna
to
drop
Chief's point, if I remember correctly, you may get somebody fresh out of college, but you're going to pay
Right.
to put them in
That's
the
right.
academy, and the academy costs eat up some of what you would actually have for a lesser amount as well too.
Right.
And then you don't get that person for 4 months, and then they have limited duty that they could actually do that discussion that we have currently with the hire from this year.
And may I add,
Please.
part of the discussion that we had was due to the idea of a study that was done a few years back. The town paid actually pretty substantial money to have a study done with police officers, and the study recommended the idea of having a 14 full-time staff. Right now we're at 12, working up towards that. One of the things that also came to discussion, because I did have some people ask, people watch the video,
Oh, yes.
and some of the things that we're trying to actually kind of to work through is because we're short-staffed, we're having a substantial amount of overtime that's actually going in the police budget right now, which actually results in actually paying extra and the idea of tired officers, which looking at possibly some other changes coming up, we're actually trying to be proactive to the point where we're not, so to speak, looking for someone that we can't get in a time that we don't have funds to do it. So I think it's the right time, the right decision. It's one of those things where it does people, as any of you would know, people do ask, why are we spending so much money? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if you were to look at our total budget of several $1 million and the effect of that, getting our police staff to the full staff is pretty small to the monthly tax bill compared to some of the other items that we've actually gone through this year. But public safety always seems to be the number one thing that people ask when they say, what do you want to support in the town? Second being the school, or vice versa. I guess I'll mention you ask, but I think it is kind of one of those things where we have to really make a decision whether we support the understandings of that study or not, and I think we're kind of...
It's a risk management piece.
It's a risk management.
Ultimately, what it comes down to, from where I'm sitting, from a public safety perspective, it's risk management. Right now, if we are running below what the study that we paid for says, and we take chances knowing full and well we have some inside information that could put us in a position that would not be favorable at all, I think that making these types of determinations and assessment is exactly why we sit in these chairs. It's not easy, but we have to figure it out. And I think that if we're looking at this honestly, it's a public safety piece. I realize there's a pretty significant price tag associated with it, but I think that it would be short-sighted for us to not or make the quick decision about saving $162,000 or better, with the chance that we could have a much larger price tag if something was to go wrong down the line.
Yep.
And as Chief Hagan said, that we don't have 12 at staff. We only really have 10. There can be 2 that could be out and retired within a year or so. Again, everybody says it's proactive. You're trying to get some good police in here just to make sure we get up to where we're supposed to be. That's it.
If anybody is still reacting to the 887 figure, the debt service piece from fund balance for the $96,000 is still an open discussion that would potentially lower that. The other one that you didn't mention would be the discussion associated with the $160,000 PW piece of apparatus.
Right, that's not in the budget right now. That's on the fund balance.
But that
Right.
would actually free up funding for other discussions. Like
Right.
the one that comes to mind is we could take 40 grand out of the the police from the cruiser and move that to fund balance if we know we're not going to actually have to invest in a
Right.
public works piece of apparatus. So it has 120,000 that could be slid there as well to reduce the budget, is my point.
Which apparatus are you referring to?
What's that?
Which apparatus are you referring to?
Her point being was that we have made significant strides in the last 2 years to actually bring the PW fleet up to standards as well too. like we had for a discussion at the fire department last week, is it best to keep that as an item out there for a fund balance discussion allocation, or is it better to actually put that in the lap of our new hired public works director and have them present it back? That's exactly the message we just presented to our fire chief last week, that it would be an apples to apples, that we would not have to deal with it in 2019, but consideration for next year's budget, and you'd have information coming from the person we just hired to do the job. That's a consideration. That's a consideration. It doesn't have anything to do with the 81 grand. I know it's off target, but in that regard, it would considerably drop by 250,000 that increase that we're looking over this year's budget increase. And what I would ask you to do for that June 5th as well is I want to know an accounting of the key sound bites. What did we just add to next year's budget for educating our public? What did they get for that value? The fact that we've already added a minimum of 1 police officer, we're talking about 2. The other changes that are key things that we've done operationally for improvement to this community. You know, things like we haven't dropped in 3 years paving.
Right.
And the fact is the strides that we've taken to actually be able to invest in infrastructure is something we're still continuing to do. That those are benefits to our community that are in this budget package.
All right.
Keep going. More discussion. On back to the 81 grand. The fact is, I would entertain a motion for the second position to go in.
I think you already have one.
I already have one in a second.
That's
And
what
did.
those are there.
Yep, for the second officer.
But any other
Deb.
discussion for items that are actually needed to be able to make that discussion? That said, all in favor?
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4? 4?
Opposed?
3?
There we go.
4 to 3.
But Diane at least has what she needs to be able to give us an end game going into that June 5th meeting. I would ask Diane, don't bury it in the council packet. If you can get that out to us sooner than later as a separate document, I'm sure there are people that are going to have questions associated with that.
I hate to vote against something like that, but I mean, there's a lot of staffing issues throughout different departments.
Yeah, no, I knew.
I'd love to get everybody up to where they need to be, but there's already going to be an increase in taxes, and people aren't going to be happy about this being the main priority, getting the police department up to taxes. There's already people that think that we spend way too money on the police department, way too much money, excuse me, on the police department. So that's the only, like I said, I hate voting against it, but
I can see both sides of the topic for sure. So by no stretch of the imagination, that's why I am asking the key sound bites that are in that increased number next year to know what we have done to actually improve versus what we've had the prior year. Because that is going to be the criticism that we're going to hear. I'm hearing it as well, too. I had one just today, this social media page that was Facebook.
Yeah.
He just put us in a group chat.
Group message.
Yeah. He's the first person to come forward, but it is legitimate. And he's not alone in that discussion, for sure. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Next item.
Department head written reports.
Read content. Anybody have any questions?
No, good information.
Thank you. Next item.
Dry.
There are no appointments. Counselor communications.
We said nothing.
Nothing. And audience participation and response for new items.
Anybody wishing to address the council for a new item? Seeing.
Can we backtrack just for 1 minute on
Sure.
the council communications? I saw something today about the deputy who lost his life, and that particular what is it? I can't remember the name of the city that he was from there.
Norwalk.
Thank you. Norwalk's, I don't know if they're a town council, what they are. They proclaimed this day in honor of Corporal Cole going forward, and they asked all other communities to make similar proclamations. So I would like to, at this time, make that known that we recognize that same day that Norwalk did for Corporal Cole from now and going forward. I think that'd be a nice tribute for him.
Is that a motion?
I'm not sure if sure, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
We have a first and we have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you all.
They have a selected form of government.
Thank you. All right, next item, Twyla.
Executive session. Order 2018-113 to go into executive session per 1 MRSA, Section 405, 6C, acquisition or of real property or economic development.
We'll be coming back for a vote.
Yes.
Class dismissed.
I will make the motion to go into executive session.
Second?
I'll second that.
You have to?
You can vote against. It's a bold move.
Order passed, 7-0.
It's a bold move, guys.
Yes, I think it did. Twyla.
Oh, shoot, that was funny.
I have time to reset it. Just give me a few minutes and I'll shut it off and then we'll record.
That's one what Black Bear Ladder wanted.
Is that them?
Yeah.